I wasn't gonna film today. Honestly, I had done all my scheduled posts for the next couple of weeks and I was gonna relax and chill out. And then I was going to sleep last night and I saw that Ev Williams, the CEO of Medium, sent an email to his entire staff and posted it on Medium too. And it turns out that there's another Medium bombshell. Weren't we just here? Like, I feel like I just, like, literally like a week ago made a video about some earth-shattering Medium announcement. But here we go again. I'm gonna need two hats at this rate. I've got my conspiracy theory one, and then I'm gonna need one for like whenever Ev decides to shake things up again for whatever little reason goes on in his little Ev Williams head. I don't know. So for those of you who aren't in the know, thank you for listening to my little rant. Basically, what happened is that Medium is buying out the owners of their big in-house, or the editorial staff of their big in-house publications. So you've probably seen posts by these publications. These are your Forge, your OneZero, Elemental, Marker. A new one came out just last week, Index, which to me suggests that apparently no one, possibly not even Ev, knew that this was coming. So what he's done basically is he said, hey y'all, these publications aren't paying for themselves. They're really expensive. We have an editorial staff of 80, and here's what I'll do. I will pay you to quit. I will pay you 5 months salary and 6 months healthcare benefits if you pack up and leave. If you stay on, you'll still have a job, but we don't know what that job's gonna look like because these publications are not gonna be the same as they were. So it's up to you. Nobody, I can't express how surprising this is to everyone. I was looking on Twitter and on social media, and apparently the editors were completely blindsided by this, and I can't imagine how that feels. That must really suck. And even if you knew it was coming, it can't have been pleasant. So sorry about that if you're an editor of a Medium publication and you're watching this. One quick disclaimer, I mentioned this only because somebody emailed me last week saying hey, how do you know all this stuff? Do you and Ev email? And much as I wish I was on Ev Williams' correspondence, we do not talk. I don't know him. This is all 100% speculation, as well as whatever interesting tidbits I was able to find on the internet that are freely available for all. That being said, Ev, if you want to talk, you know how to find me. So there are a lot of things going on. So I want to break this up into 4 parts. We're going to talk about the context. I'm going to set the scene so you can fully understand the ramifications of how and why this happened. I'm going to talk about what it means for editors, what Ev has told us, as well as what I've heard from individual editors. I'm going to talk about the reception. Medium is a pretty well-known company, and the reception was, we'll say it was mixed, to say the least. And I'm going to end with giving you my thoughts and my theories for what this means for me, for us, for Medium, for writers. Spoiler alert, I think it's mostly positive. But I want to explain why. Don't just take my word for it. I want you to see what I see. So let's start with the context. 2 years ago, there I was, happily tip-tapping away on Medium. I just had my first viral story about cats or whatever. And they started pushing these publications, right? OneZero was the first one. And they were like, hey, we've got this brand new cool publication. It's owned by real professional editors. We're going to do more of these. And they created, I think, 9 altogether, all told, of these professional editorial level publications that were owned by Medium employees. Before then, anybody could create a pub on Medium. I could create a pub. You could. We still can. But now these publications were kind of a head and shoulders above the rest. They were run by real people in the industry who had a lot of experience and knowledge. And that was really exciting. For a while, if you got into one of those pubs and your story got featured, you got a flat fee of $200. Amazing. And you also got, sometimes you were promoted on the homepage. Back then, when those pubs first launched, that's all the homepage was. It was all these Medium-owned publications. They were pushing them hard. Over time, that kind of faded out. Medium started doing more of a personalized homepage. There were a couple months where I got a mix of either Medium-owned pub or personalized homepage, just depending on the day of the week. And what I assume is that they A/B tested it and found that the homepage that had a personalized mix was more successful. So I maybe have a more unique perspective than other people because I've been published in several of these pubs. The benefit is that, you get to work with a real professional editor, and that does move your writing along. it improves your writing to see what somebody else would suggest to make it better. It also kind of widened my name in these circles. OneZero it has a better reputation than, say, the startup, even if the quality of the work is exactly the same, because OneZero is run by people who are known in the media industry. It is publishing names that are known by people in the media industry. And because I was included among those, I got a little bit more noticed by people, not just inside Medium, but outside Medium as well. And that was great for me in my career. So now, here we are. You have the story of how the publications rose. 2 years later, now Ev's saying they don't pay for themselves. So he says, we need to experiment more efficiently than we have been to date. I can see more focused, high affinity publications working well as part of the Medium bundle. And I can also see the editorial team being great at conceiving and executing those types of publications. The most important thing is that we need to iterate quickly and optimize for what's working. So I have this from the email that he sent out to his team and also published on Medium. That's all the context I have. Nobody knows what this actually means. I've seen many people say in a very ironic twist that Ev probably could have used an editor for that email because nobody knows what he's saying. As far as I can make out, it sounds like they will continue to exist in some capacity, but maybe with a heavily reduced budget or just a more agile footing where maybe they're not commissioning these big names to write for them. That's all I know. That's the context that we have. Medium invested heavily into these publications, and they did not pay off. That's what we have so far, but I want to talk about what this means for editors. So as you know, I mentioned this already, the editorial team at Medium consisted of 80 people. Honestly, it sounds like nobody knew that this was coming and nobody really knows what's next for the publications because they're giving this option, which, okay, in my opinion, I think 5 months salary is pretty generous, but that's just my opinion. I assume a lot of people will take that and walk away because it's been kind of a weird, rough time at Medium, and I imagine it's the same for those in the editorial group. If you're not seeing the results you want for getting these publications up and running, and your boss is like, hey, you kind of sucked at that, you didn't do what I needed you to do, so I'm literally paying you money to leave. Please quit. I might be like, all right, peace, Medium. I'm off to find something slightly less experimental and slightly more stable. That would just be what I would do. So there was an article in the New York Times that had slightly more context. It says that employees were told that they did not have to take the buyouts, but that their jobs would most likely change if they stayed, according to a source. Change into what? Nobody knows. Maybe not even Ev. Maybe nobody has any idea. So that's the context. That's what it means for editors of these in-house publications. I think for writers, what it means is that maybe we won't see as much commission. Like I used to earn, I think, between $200 and $300 per story that I published with them, which was a very great bonus. I might not see that anymore if I publish. It might just be the brand name and maybe the reach. So I want to talk about the reception now. Among legacy media, so among people that the editorial team used to work for, which, they have staff from Hacker News, Wired, a lot of people from the New York Times. Like it's a very well-known group of people that are working for Medium's, that were working for Medium's editorial team. And so mostly legacy media are saying that this sucks bad. You have to understand, if you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, another group of people lost their jobs, whatever. It's been kind of a weird couple of years for the media industry, right? So jobs have been decimated. There have been private equity buyouts. There have been huge layoffs. There have a lot of media people anecdotally have been saying that, look, we were just told to churn out content that would get clicks. And if we didn't do that, we were laid off. So that's what we're seeing across the media landscape as a whole. And it's easy for people to look at what's happening at Medium and just seeing that again, another group of talented, powerful, really well-known, and honestly very knowledgeable individuals losing their job. Again, another group of people. And you should also know that this happened less than a month after Medium's failed unionization drive. So Medium employees, I think in late February, gathered and unionized, or tried to. According to their formal terms that they put together, they said, all right, look, if every Medium employee votes and we have a simple majority, so half plus one, we will be formally recognized by the company as a union. And they were one vote short of that. They failed. And a lot of people think that this layoff, this buyout, this whatever you want to call it, is active retaliation from Ev against the editorial team, because the editorial team apparently were very active in the Medium union scene. And a lot of people think that Ev was just like, well, I don't want that, so you've just lost your job. Especially because apparently he did hire like this union busting firm, and allegedly he did make sort of veiled comments that, you know, he'd heard that if he worked at a unionized company, it would be much harder to get venture capital. So it's a possible scenario. It's certainly, if nothing else, a very, very bad timing and a bad look for Ev, if you ask me. So yeah, a lot of people see, a lot of the legacy media landscape see this as blatant retaliation. But I want to talk about writers. Writers on Medium, when I looked at the comments of the post, and for the most part, it's positive. So I looked at both the comments of the post that Ev made, but I also just talked to a bunch of my writer friends to get their thoughts on what was going on. And I want to share some of the screenshots that I saw. Felicia C. Sullivan, one of the writers I respect the most. She has such a sharp and cutting wit. I recommend you following her if you don't already. She says, "I'm extremely excited for this new direction." From Eric Brown, "Independent voices are what attracted me here and sung the praises of this platform. Hopefully Medium takes a turn back in that direction as mentioned." BB Nicholson, "Thanks for letting us know. I've missed the earlier days of Medium where independent writers were the mainstay. Best news I've heard all week. Thank you for the updates and clarification. This is very reassuring and truly shows what it seems Medium has been aiming to represent since day one. Thank you for sharing this update with us." And now I want to end with my thoughts and my theories. So we've had the context. You know how Medium pubs, the Medium-owned pubs, came to rise and then to fall. You know what's potentially going to be happening with the editors as far as anyone knows. You know how the reception has been, mostly on Twitter, it's been reviled, and by writers, it's been celebrated. And I want to share my thoughts. My thoughts are that it's positive. You know what? Since day one, I have loved the fact about Medium that it is not gatekept, that some random lady who loves her cats probably a little too much could start writing about her cats and then could branch out and write about writing, could write about data science, could write about feminism, and build a whole career, a writing career off the back of that with zero formal education or jobs in writing. I'm not a journalist, I'm not a reporter, I'm not anything, I'm a writer, and I owe my career to Medium. Medium gave me a platform, a voice. It let me find my audience. I can't think of another platform that would have let me do that. And honestly, when they brought in those big professional journalists, it felt like a step back. Medium's strength has always been elevating not qualifications, but quality, real writers who have things that want to be heard by other people, not necessarily people who have, big accreditations or a degree from a brand name university. These are voices that want to be heard by real readers. These big sort of professional journalists kind of made me feel like Medium didn't care about its indie writers, and it just wanted to try to force respectability on itself. It was gatekeeping. It was hard to get into these publications. Like I would consider myself a fairly decent writer. And I pitched, dozens of times, and I got in a handful of times. I know that it was much harder for others to get in than it was even for me. I know that many times you emailed and you never heard a response. And from a platform that prides itself on accessibility, I think that kind of sucks. When you did get in, you lost a lot of the creative power. So Forge, I think, was the worst for this. When my pieces did get into Forge, they were almost completely rewritten to the point where I was like, why did you get me to write that? I could have just given you the idea and you would have rewritten it as you wanted, as you clearly have. OneZero wasn't nearly as bad. OneZero was very light with the edits, but they did change my titles without my permit. I mean, not that they had the right to do that, but they did change my titles in a way that I didn't like, and I didn't have a recourse to do that. And that was frustrating. And I had no idea what the niche of some of these publications were supposed to be. They all just seemed to overlap depending on what was the hot button issue of the moment. So we saw social justice in Forge, that was supposed to be the self-improvement. We saw self-improvement in Elemental, that was supposed to be the health. We saw health in OneZero, that was supposed to be the sort of tech publication. It just seemed like they didn't even really know what they were, and they were just trying to get views at any cost. So I think Medium tried to create highbrow editorial content. It tried to promote content that it thought readers should want to read instead of promoting content that readers actually want to read. And I've talked about this in my videos before about the sort of balance between clickbait and high quality stuff and how Medium is always shifting between the two, trying to find the right balance. And I hope, God, that this is going to be a shift back towards what people actually want to read versus what Medium thinks they should want to read. And honestly, I know it's bad timing in context of the unionization drive, but I'm surprised it took this long. Those things looked expensive to run. They were time consuming. And at least for me, all of my viral stories that got more than 50,000 views, not a single one was in a Medium owned pub, no matter how many resources they threw at it. The ones that moved the best were in the publications like Mind Cafe, P.S. I Love You, Postgrad Survival Guide, The Ascent, publications that have a very strong relationship and trust with their readers that these Medium owned publications just didn't have. I think a lot of the media's response to this is a misunderstanding of Medium. People see that Medium is a group of publications and that EV has just closed those publications. So they see that it's now lost its direction, that without these publications, how can it possibly succeed? Why on earth would I have closed these? But I see hope. I see a change for the better. I see going back to Medium's indie roots, where it promotes writing from writers that don't have a traditional journalism background, who don't have a degree in reporting or writing, who just have words in their head and who want to get them out and have interesting stories to tell. I hope that's the case. And I do really think that most people who are angry or think that this means the end of Medium haven't been paying attention to what Medium really is. I don't know Ev. We're not friends. I read his writing voraciously, but he doesn't know me. I don't really know him. It's possible that this is retaliation. The timing could have certainly been better. And I don't think he has a vision for where he wants Medium to go. I really don't. I think he wants it to be a place where people read stuff. But beyond that, he has no idea how to create that. And that's why we've seen all these changes. I'm not surprised that they're pivoting away from the Medium publications because they haven't been good for anybody. Not me, not them, not other writers I've talked to. Most people had their big hits either self-publishing or in publications that weren't owned by Medium. So I want to end with this screenshot from 2018, 3 years ago, entitled, "We had no idea it was coming. Medium pulls the rug from under publications." May 2018. Okay, sounds familiar, doesn't it? But this is the thing. Medium has a long history of doing whatever the it wants to do with publications, writers, the algorithm. I have lost count of the number of pivots and turns and twists. So there's a really good article that maps out each of the different steps Medium has taken since 2012 when it launched. And it's been a heck of a ride. But that's the game. We've always known that. We writers who rely on Medium for our income and our livelihood, we've always known that you can't count on anything from Medium. It's always a wild ride. The people who succeed are the people who roll with the punches and don't take anything for granted. I don't know what's going to be next for Medium. I don't. It might be that these publications have a revival, they come back, they figure it out. Could be that they go away forever. Could be that Medium gets rid of publications 100% and it's all individual writers. I don't know. But all I do know is that here I am creating another video out of schedule because Medium decided to drop yet another bomb. But you know what? I'm going to roll with this punch. I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep trying, and I'm going to keep seeing where Medium takes me. It's been an amazing journey so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future brings. Happy writing. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all for the next scheduled or unscheduled video. Bye.